iHeartRadio Talk presents the Jane Wilkens Michael Show, where she and her very special guests share in their passion to motivate and inspire you to live better than before.
We control our fate.
And your inspiration is available anywhere you go on Spotify, Audible, SiriusXM, Odyssey, Amazon, Pandora, through Apple and Android phones, and of course on the iHeartRadio app. Now here she is, celebrated columnist, author, lifestyle influencer, and radio host, Jane Wilkens Michael.
Welcome, everyone, to the Jane Wilkens Michael Show. I'm Jane. I'm coming to you live from New York City. I want to thank you so much for being with us. As all of you know and expect from this show, I interview A-list celebrities, and I also speak with renowned medical doctors who help us all look and feel better than before. And on today's show, we have two such very special guests. Come on in, Lori, my very special producer, and let's reveal the identity of our special guests. Hi, Lori.
Hi, Jane.
Okay, first off, we have Tom Felicia, who is a world-famous interior designer. We all know him from his role as the design expert on the Emmy Award-winning series Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. He's also a best-selling author who co-wrote a book based on that very show. Currently, he's the founder and creative officer of the New York City-based design firm Tom Felicia, Inc. Our medical expert is Dr. Andrew Kirkendall, who is a hematology and oncology specialist. You know, Lori, 10 years ago, Tom donated his bone marrow to his brother, who was diagnosed with myelofibrosis, which is a complex blood cancer, and it affects nearly 25,000 people in the U.S. And we're going to talk all about that. We're also going to talk all about the new GSK initiative called Mapping Myelofibrosis, which helps to raise awareness of this blood disease and provides educational tools and resources to help navigate all aspects of it. So here they are, Tom Felicia and Dr. Kirkendall. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being with us.
Hello, and thank you for having us.
Absolutely, thank you.
Our pleasure. So, Tom, let's start with you. A while back, we had Nate Berkus on the show, and he said when he was a little kid, he would take his allowance and use it to buy things to redecorate his room. And I couldn't even get my kids to pick up their dirty underwear, let alone redecorate their rooms. And I would have encouraged them to redecorate, of course. Tell us briefly, how did your interest in decorating begin?
Well, first and foremost, I had a far more cost-effective solution. I was just taking the things that were already belonged to my family and putting them in different locations that I thought were better suited for those pieces, and or just eliminate them altogether. It was a lot of editing going on. So I wasn't spending as much money, but I started my sort of understanding that I wanted to be a designer and work in that space when I was in about fifth grade. I drew a house on the desk in my classroom, and when we had a substitute teacher, and I got in trouble, of course, when my teacher returned. And however, they did take a picture of me with the principal next to the desk, so I knew I was onto something. And I also, that next year, was put into an advanced art program and started designing houses with an architect that would come in once every 3 or 4 weeks to our special art group. So it was a really great sort of springboard for me at that time. And then I ended up studying design and specifically interior design in college. So so that's how it started, and I'm still going.
Nice. Well, my children obviously picked different careers because interior decorating was not something that they obviously were good at. Otherwise, their rooms would be fantastic, and they were not. Now, just jumping forward a little, most people dream of having a show that highlights their expertise. I feel lucky to have this show, telling our listeners how to become better than before, which is my passion. Tell us very briefly, how did Queer Eye come about for you?
I mean, so Queer Eye was, here I was living in New York City doing exactly what I studied and loved doing and what I wanted to do as a young person. And I had a design firm in New York City. I was in Soho. It was probably 2 or 3 years into owning my own company after I worked for some major firms, big firms in New York City. And I was leaving work with my then dog, Paco, on Thursday or Friday night, kind of late. Ended up getting stuck in an elevator with about I don't know, it's about 9 or 10 women that were leaving an office on a couple floors above me, and we all got stuck in an elevator. And one of the gals in the elevator had a complete and utter breakdown because she was claustrophobic and nervous and this whole thing. And so I ended up sitting on the floor with her and, telling jokes and getting her comfortable and, sort of just taking her down a different path than she was about to go down, and having fun with it because we were in there for a couple hours. And once we were out, a woman who was in the elevator, who was a casting agent, connected with me and said that she enjoyed, what that sort of experience made it kind of fun for everybody. And we kept in touch, and a couple months later, she said, I think you should consider doing this. And that's how I was introduced to Queer Eye, which is a pretty unlikely audition to be stuck in an elevator with someone who was having a nervous breakdown, I guess.
Oh my goodness. Well, I would have used that time.
Yeah.
I would have had you redesign my entire house. I wouldn't have wasted it. How wonderful for you, though. But, this year marks the 20th anniversary of Queer Eye. And, it is scary how time flies. And I remember, watching you when you were first on. I was a very, very young child. Of course I was.
Yeah.
And you still have fans to this very day, including myself.
Well,
but,
thank you.
Let's talk about another anniversary, and we're going to bring the doctor into this conversation as well. As mentioned earlier, 10 years ago, you donated your bone marrow to your brother. You gave your brother the ultimate gift, the gift of life, and he was diagnosed with myelofibrosis. Take us briefly on this journey, please.
So 10 years ago, yes, my brother was diagnosed with myelofibrosis, and he is doing very well today, 10 years later, and I'm very happy to say that. However, at that time, 10 years ago, it was just, we really didn't know what myelofibrosis was. We never heard of it. And my brother was, diagnosed with something that we didn't really understand or know what it was. And he was learning about it in real time and giving us the information that we needed, that was what we were getting at that moment. And soon thereafter, I was testing to be a bone marrow donor because that was what was necessary for my brother's situation. It's not everyone's course of action, but that was his course of action for his situation. And one of the things I've learned about myelofibrosis is that it's different in everyone in the way that they figure out they have it and sort of what their path is to sort of deal with it. So my brother was doing this bone marrow transplant. I was identified as a perfect match, which was a really lucky and great thing that happened pretty quickly. And we were on our way to doing a bone marrow transplant, which, with a disease that I was just barely knew enough about to understand that it was really, something that needed to be addressed quickly for my brother. And so, I was, going through all sorts of meetings and introductions and, and just learning about what I needed to do to prepare myself to do a bone marrow transplant, which was, it wasn't as complicated as I thought it was going to be, but, it was still something that we had to do. And I was, and interestingly, it's not something that I didn't really do it with my brother. You kind of doing it separately because he was doing the things he needed to do to keep himself in a place where he could do a bone marrow transplant. So it was a scary moment, but it was a very scary time. Yeah.
But wonderful that you were able to do this. Now, that said, you've also partnered with GSK on their initiative Mapping Myelofibrosis, which I said in the intro helps raise awareness for this, and it's a very important campaign. And it's mappingmf.com, if I'm correct. Hopefully, I'm correct on that.
Yes, it is. You're correct.
Terrific.
It's mappingmf.com is the website, but you can also go to Mapping Myelofibrosis on Facebook to get to the website. And so I mean, it is one of those things where, having the opportunity to really build awareness for this website so that people have the information and the resources, the stories and the connection, the community connection, the educational tools, all of those things that are on the website that didn't exist when I was going through it with my brother. And I know my brother, and definitely I know for myself, would have very much benefited from this, kind of information in this website.
Of course.
So I do think, it's an important thing, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Wonderful. And now, Dr. Kirkendall, I'm so sorry. I want to bring you into this now. Thank you for your patience. Hello, and thank you very much for coming on the show today. I always say, doctor, be your own doctor, of course, as well. And if you feel something isn't right, go get it checked out. What could be a symptom that you might go to your doctor and question, is this myelofibrosis?
Yeah, I think that's a challenging question because, this is a chronic blood disease, chronic blood cancer that, occurs because patients are making too many blood cells in their bone marrow, and that leads to an overproduction issue. And all that inflammation and all that activity in the bone marrow can lead to symptoms. It can lead to abnormal blood counts. It can lead to, overall enlargement of the spleen. That's an atypical, or it's typical for myelofibrosis, but an atypical thing to have occur and can cause abdominal pain. And so I think that you have a disease that can lead to a number of different symptoms, and you don't always have all of those. You may have one, you may have none, right? About a quarter of people don't have a really clear symptomatology associated with the disease. And so it's hard to say, this is the hallmark for this disease. If you have this, go ask about myelofibrosis. In general, I think, patients present in a variety of ways. Sometimes it's because abnormal blood counts show up by their primary care doctor. Sometimes it's because they're having symptoms. They just don't feel well. But in reality, this all leads to a workup and typically leads to a referral to a hematologist or an oncologist, perhaps a bone marrow biopsy to see what's going on. But to your point, as far as being your own doctor, I think, it's always important to just keep up with regular checkups, regular lab work. Always important when you're not feeling well to go see someone and see what those symptoms pan out to show. And ultimately, I think that when you do get this diagnosis, and this is what mappingmf.com has to do with this, is once you get that diagnosis, we want to be able to hook patients up with reliable resources where they can really dive in and understand more about their own disease process.
Right, and that's where this important website comes in, mappingmf.com. Now, doctor, before I let you go, whether you have MF or not, a healthy lifestyle is, of course, of the utmost importance. And it takes more than thinking happy thoughts and walking around the block and eating leafy greens to feel your best. I know my husband would rather starve than eat anything that tastes remotely like escarole. If you were to name one or two, because, we'll have to cut this down a little bit. What would you say? What would you say the most important lifestyle component is to keep us all feeling better than before? One or two.
Yeah, well, those happy thoughts are actually quite important. I think keeping a positive attitude towards things are important. But I think when it comes down to just lifestyle things, exercise and sleep are really the two things that I would promote. And I think that it's something I often talk about with my patients, whether you have a chronic illness, a chronic cancer or not. Making sure you go out and getting exercise, staying out, interacting with people. I think not just exercising your body, but exercising your mind, exercising your social skills with people in the community and getting that sense of community. And then making sure that you give yourself time to get rest. I think those are probably the things that lead to having more of those happy thoughts on a day-to-day basis.
Right, and those are important. And even I try to sneak in his leafy greens, but he always suspects something is going on there.
Broccoli.
and it is. He's very right. So we've had food experts on. Just bake it into something, and I have tried. Let me tell you. So, well, thank you for that, doctor. Tom, back to you. Ever since the pandemic, we spend so much more time at home. Can you leave us with some decorating, perhaps tips or something that we should add to our living space that will make us all feel better than before and give us restful nights and help us sleep, as the doctor just said,
Yes.
which is so important.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I mean, I would first say, I think one of the things that I love about this moment in the design space, or more importantly, I would say in the lifestyle space, is that we all are following sort of things that we like, whether it's foods that we like, it's not following trends and following fashion that we think fits our architecture, our body, and things that we think are interesting. I think the days of just following trends is not where we are right now. And I think that's really exciting in the interior design space as well. So I think people creating personalized spaces that sort of tell their story, that really are the environment that they want to be in, not something that they're trying to replicate or aspirationally kind of live up to, I think is really kind of a cool place to be. So I think having the ability to create a space that is truly your aesthetic, that represents your point of view, that sort of tells your story. When you walk into someone's home and you know who they are, where they're from, where they are at this moment, and where they're going, and it's an honest, comfortable, inviting, and stylish representation of their kind of lifestyle and their aesthetic, I think that's a really comfortable, embracing kind of environment where you can be comfortable, where you can sleep well, where you can relax, where you can entertain, where you can, it's just where you can, a beautiful backdrop for a beautiful life is really what I like to do for my clients. And it's not so much about following trends. It's about really doing something that's personalized and that's authentic to that person or those people or that family, or maybe a brand that we're working for, doing a hotel or something like that. But it's really creating something that feels unique and authentic.
Yeah, and you've had some amazing projects. Now, you have a design firm. You are the founder and chief creative officer at New York City-based design firm Tom Felicia Inc., if I'm correct. Yeah. And you've also had some pretty, I'm scoring 100 here with all the websites and everything. Sometimes it doesn't always happen, but I was very careful in this one that I got all my facts right. So you've had some very impressive projects. Can you just name one of your favorites? If there is, we've done a lot. Let me think. I would say we did the World's Fair. We did the American Pavilion for the World's Fair in Aichi, Japan, which was really amazing. I loved that because it was just, an unusual representing the American experience is a pretty incredible and exciting task, from a design standpoint. And it was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. And to do it in Aichi, Japan was also a really exciting and interesting project. It was amazing. But, designing product, we're growing the Tom Felicia Home Collection, which is a really kind of exciting part of our business and what I do, which I really love. And we have, I think we're up to like 10 or 11 licensed partners in that space, which is great. And I have a showroom in New York City called Sedgwick and Brattle that is, is a showroom to the trade and distribution for our products and other products. So it's fun. I'm loving what I'm doing. I'm loving still doing sort of brick and mortar design, as I call it, and working with my clients and my office and doing all of those things, and having the opportunity to be a part of this as well, which is, I think, something that's very cool and very important. That's wonderful. And if I ever decide to redo the kids' room, they're all grown now, but if I ever want to redo it, I know where to find you.
You can turn them into something more functional now, right? Like a yoga room for you, and
exactly.
Some other. Every room can have a different thing.
Exactly. There was this great commercial where the mother is, the son is going off to college, and he's going, "Where's mom?" And the father's saying, "Oh, she's so upset. She can't even come to say goodbye." In the meantime, they flash to mom, who's in the kids' room, saying, "I think I'm going to put the closet here, and I'm going to
and the hot tub over here,
and the hot tub over here." Mom is so too upset to say goodbye. Anyway, well, gentlemen,
she's meeting with the contractor.
She's meeting exactly as we speak. Well, gentlemen, I have to say goodbye to you, and I want to thank you, Dr. Kuykendall, so much for being with us. Tom, of course, thank you so much. And everyone, I urge you to check out mappingmf.com for more information about navigating myelofibrosis, which is very important. And everyone,
thank you for having me.
Well,
again.
thank you. Thank you for having us, and really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Of course. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Lori, as always. This is Jane. I'll be back very soon. Until then, be wise, be well, be better than before.
Well, don't stop now. There's so much more to the Jane Wilkens Michael Show. Better than before. Hear it all online on the iHeartRadio app, Spotify, Audible, SiriusXM, Odyssey, Amazon, Pandora, through the Apple and Android phones. And hear it all and find out more on JaneWilkensMichael.com.